Hey, party people. I think we're going live right now, so we're just going to roll with it. Hey, thanks so much for being here. Excited to have another week with you here in the group. If you're here in my Stress Loop Rewire community, thank you so much for being a part of it. We're going to talk about change today and our resistance to it. Even when we know it's good for us, you want to change. So, why do you keep stopping yourself? It's a funny little habit that we do as humans. I find this so hilarious all the time because these are things that we often plan to do that we know are good for ourselves. We dream of being our best selves. We see it in other people. We want that for ourselves. We make goals and then boom, we hit the brakes. We don't make it across the finish line. And it's really about self-sabotage and it's about a lot of things. And we're going to dive into that today. So stick with me. We're going to talk about the tricky little things that we do to self sabotage ourselves, what happens when that's going on. And I'm going to give you 5 key points to move through that so that you can hopefully start to trust yourself and engage the part of yourself that knows how to move through this resistance, come out on the other side as the better version of you. And you know what? At the end, I'm going to offer you an amazing guided immersive meditation. It's a great thing because everybody has a very individualized experience every time you do a guided immersive meditation. Even the same person doesn't have the same experience each time they even would do the same one. So I really invite you to take a moment at the end to stick with me so that you can move through that. It's not very long. It will allow you to, come up with your own insights and realizations regarding what goals you have and what you need to do personally to move through your own resistance so that you can realize your goal. Okay, so if you don't already know who I am, I'm Jennifer Sack, and I'm an online women's wellness mentor, and I help stressed out wellness professionals, which sounds like an oxymoron, but it's not, to become more balanced and grounded and find some sustained just peace in their life so that they can basically teach and lead like a boss, being in charge of their well being, who walks the walk instead of just contributing to the Zen facade and secretly feeling like a bit of an imposter because they're out there leading and teaching wellness, yet inside feeling a lot of like a hot stress mess. And I can speak from years and years of experience in this, so there's no judgment. And I'm just giving you a ton of grace to be exactly where you are and maybe just acknowledge that you need to get back on track, that you need to find that authenticity, that wellness, that grounded in yourself so that you can go out there and be the best version of yourself when you are helping others become well as well. So you're in the right spot if that's you. If you're already a part of my Stress Loop Rewire community, thank you for being there. I love adding value. I love seeing you all there. And if you know anybody that could benefit from joining the group, please share. If you're watching this out there on YouTube land or because I shared this resource with you, thanks so much for taking the time. Feel free to share it if you want to get into the Stress Loop Rewire community. Find me on Facebook, Jennifer Sack. You'll find a link in my banner or just DM me. I'll get you in. All right, so let's go back to the topic of the day here. Um, so I know this pattern, the pattern of self sabotage, like the back of my hand, because I've done it so many times. I can see it coming, yet it still happens. Self sabotage has held me back in many ways throughout my life. It kept me in the cycle of addiction for decades. So glad to be on the other side of that fence, but I can tell you the amount of resistance that comes to getting sober is tremendously great. Even to little things, the pattern of self-sabotage in, setting up things that I get really excited for, maybe for my business or partnerships or whatnot, and then roadblocking myself at the last minute due to fear of failure, somehow self sabotaging, even making myself sick just so that I wouldn't have to go through with the item or the action plan or whatever it was. Gosh, there are even trivial things like, committing to intermittent fasting this week in the mornings and then like hours later I'm like binge eating at night. So there's so many ways from the high mountains of mega resistance like sobriety or something to the more trivial things. I know the pattern of the self-sabotage of this resistance that comes up when you're trying to create change or move through new goals. so well. And I still laugh at it. I laugh at how funny it is that we know that we want to do things that improve our lives. And it shouldn't be so hard because if we know that they're going to be good for us, why would we resist them? It's it's so crazy, but it's also totally understandable. So, I want you to take a moment to think about how this affects you in your life. And maybe, like me, you have those big, huge resistances, like mending that relationship with that person in your family that it's been broken for years. That's a big one. Or maybe it's something as simple as just getting back to your exercise routine or going to bed earlier. It could be little or it could be big. I want you to take a moment to reflect on your own personal experience in dealing with resistance that comes up to change or moving through things that you know are good for you. And these can be anything. They could be, physical. They could be like, eating better. We always hear that one as an improvement, self-improvement thing. Eating better, exercising, less technology or digital stuff in our life. I recently did a digital detox for 3 days, and it was really, truly the most amazing experience ever. I loved it. But this can also be, like I said, in relationships or socially. This could be you wanting to stand up for yourself, speak up, and have that hard conversation. It could be about setting boundaries. It could be about finding acceptance, forgiveness, non judgment. There's so many different areas of our life that we know that we could improve and do better, and yet we resist. So it can be the full breadth of many things. So I just want you to think about in your life, what are those places that you get hung up? Okay, so we're going to work with that at the end with that meditation. So we'll get to that later. Let's talk a little bit about what this resistance even is. Now, I studied yoga philosophy for 20 years, love it, and it can relate in so many ways to our life. And this is one of them because in yogic philosophy, this resistance is called tapas. It's actually the heat of change. It is the fire, the friction of transformation that creates this resistance in your body. You're literally feeling heat from it. Okay. And that's why we get really uncomfortable. Sometimes just subtly uncomfortable. Bigger things make us really uncomfortable. And that's because you are creating new neural pathways. The old habits, patterns, ways of thinking, beliefs, actions are now rubbing up against the new, literally creating friction. And that's that heat you feel. That's that gripping that you go, oh, I don't want to go through this. That's tapas. All right. So, one of the best stories I've ever read in a book regarding this that just stuck with me that I'm going to share with you is about an egg. So, an egg, of all things, a raw egg can't become a beautifully delicious, cooked egg, however you like it cooked, unless it jumps into the frying pan and goes through the heat, the sizzle of transformation. It has to do it. And we resist that moment. We get up to the frying pan, we throw a little butter in there, and then we're like, maybe not today. We ease off and we back away, hoping nobody saw us just divert completely from from our goal that we have set. And I think this is sometimes why we don't always tell people about our goals because in the back of our mind we're like, I'm probably not going to do that. Because we know ourselves. We have upset ourselves enough times to know to doubt, to cause that seed of self-doubt because we've biffed it a lot. And I can tell you I've biffed it a lot. We'll get to that. We'll get to that self-trust part. But think about the egg. You have to go through this heat of transformation in order to come out of the other side. But it does, again, create resistance. You can't ever carve a new pathway without creating any sort of heat. It's not an easy thing to do. It's not a flip of a switch. You've got to create new neural pathways, which means you've got to do some work. And that work is going to create a little bit of resistance. Now, if resistance is something you are well versed in yourself, I do encourage you to take advantage of one of my free resources. It's called Yes, This Too, which you can tell just from the title. It's like, all right, bring it on. I can deal with this. It's a 15-minute free guided immersive meditation. And the whole point of it is just to allow you to start to release resistance because you're like, okay, I can sink into the moment. I can take what life throws at me because it will never stop throwing stuff at you. and it's going to be okay. It's like, yes, this too. Oh, and that too. Fine. All right. Bring it. So I encourage you to check that out. Give yourselves 15 minutes, please. Link will be in the comments, so you can find it on many of my resources that I offer. So moving on, let's share. I'm going to share 5 key points to help you deal with this resistance in your life. So, key point number 1 is to just anticipate the friction. It's going to happen. Like we just talked about, there is no way to create a new action, thought pattern, belief, what have you, without friction, because you are basically carving a new path. You are rubbing up the old against the new. There will be heat. The only way that you can change is through this heat. So you have to think about it that way. The only way I can change is through this heat of resistance. So think of that heat of resistance as the pathway, the door to what you want. So instead of feeling that uncomfortable moment and going, oh, I don't like it, and backing off, go like, all right, this means something's about to happen that I want to happen. So embrace the friction, anticipate that it's going to happen, brings me right into key point number 2 is doing it anyway. Feel the resistance and do it anyway. Go through with the action. Just let yourself feel that. It's not going to kill you to feel a little resistance, to feel some uncomfortableness in your body. You can move through it. It's just a matter of being that you're going to be with for a moment, being uncomfortable for a little bit to get to the other side. At the end of the day, you're going to be okay. Think about maybe the worst case scenario. I do this sometimes when I'm spiraling out. I'll think of like, oh my God, what if this and then that and then oh my blah blah blah, and it's like this whole whoop. Go ahead, let yourself go there. What is the worst that can happen? Imagine that. And then you go and you imagine that and you're like, that's really bad. Sure, it's not great, but you're going to be okay at the end of the day. And you're going to move through it and everybody else is going to forget about that and you'll be on the other side of the fence. So what's really the worst that can happen? All right. A little discomfort in your life for a moment. Are you going to end up better off in the end? Key point number 2, again, just do it anyway. All right. So key point number 3 is I want you to rebuild self-trust. And that is by starting small. Sometimes you need to start small with goals to start to rebuild that trust, especially if you're someone who has, like I said, I have done many times, so I'm right there with you, biffed it, fallen short of the finish line, and you have a reputation with yourself for doing that, maybe even with others for doing that. And so you start to live into that label, you start to live as that identity of like, I just don't follow through on things, I just can't, I don't know what's wrong with me. No. Start small. Start to rebuild your trust that you can follow through with things. So it can be something as simple as like, starting, say you want to get more sleep. You're like, just go to bed earlier. Start by turning off the phone or whatever digital thing in your world earlier. That's a small thing you can do to help you. And once you see that you can do that, you're going to build up to bigger and better things. Maybe you build a whole evening routine that works for you. If you try and start off right away by reshaping your whole evening, I guarantee you're probably going to fail because it's going to be too much of a change. It's going to be too much resistance. You're not going to really know how it all unfolds. You're going to feel overwhelmed. Start small so that as you get those small wins, you can build upon them. Perhaps it's meditation. Perhaps you're like, I've always wanted to meditate. I just can't do it. I failed so many times. I cannot do it. I can't. If I had a dime for every time I heard someone say that, whew, rich. And the fact of the matter is everybody can. So I just don't love that excuse, but I understand it. And here's the thing. Maybe you just start off with like 1 to 2 minutes a day of some really intentional and present breath work. It's really not a big deal. You can do anything for a minute or two, I guarantee you. Do some breath work. And then maybe you build upon that. Maybe next thing you know, you've got 5 minutes under your belt where you can do your breath work or even start to meditate. Trust me, doing breath work is a form of meditation, so you don't have to like put them in different boats if you don't want to. 6 months from now, maybe you're meditating for 20 minutes a day, easy peasy. Don't make everything like, a habit that you have to have in 21 days. You're going to be like totally great at this. No, don't give yourself a timeline. Just build. Just build a little at a time in the way that makes sense for you. Maybe it's the hard conversations that you need to have. Maybe you need to think ahead about the key points that you want to say. If you start to get derailed, like no, say someone kind of dominates the conversation, you're like, God, every time I try to speak my mind with this person, I end up being, it turns around and they gaslight me. And then next thing I know, I'm just like, accepting guilt and it's all my fault. And I totally agree. And then I walk away and I'm like, what happened there? What happened? Maybe prepare ahead of time. Maybe just start journaling. That's could be your small win. Start journaling the key points that you want to say, the topics you want to bring up, what is important to you. And it might build up if you were to read that every day. It might build up to the point of having that hard conversation and really being able to move through and not get derailed when that person wants to maybe turn it around or you start to feel that weakness, that resistance set in. You'll have in your mind those things you really want to express so well ingrained from your small, repetitive little, you know, reading or journaling on that. Boom, big win when you finally have that hard conversation. And that's how you start to build trust. Okay. So, key point number 3 for moving through that resistance is to start small, start rebuilding that self trust that you can and you will be able to do it. Key point number 4, set yourself up for success. So, say it's working out that you want to do, set your clothes out. Be ready for it. I work out typically twice a day on a good day. And that second round, I kind of don't want to do because I'm coming home from work and I'm like, ugh, in this zone. But if I put my clothes out right there ready for me, it's less of a resistance because you just put them on and then you're in the zone. Maybe your shoes like bug your feet for working out and you're like, oh, I don't, that's like a resistance you have in general. Your feet hurt. Buy some new shoes. Stop sitting with the excuse that, well, my shoes hurt my feet. Buy the shoes, start working out. Maybe it's something like food wise. If that chocolate is a problem and it's in your household, hide it from yourself. Put it somewhere really hard to get to. I do this every week when my kids go back to their dads for a week and there's snacks in the house that I don't want to be tempted to eat. I will put them in one of their bedrooms. I just hide it from myself. Visually, they're gone. I kind of forget about them. And, and then one of them will come back and be like, why is all this food in my room? Oh, yeah. So you set yourself up for success by just doing things that are going to help you so that when you come up against this thing, you're prepared for it. Again, just like we talked about in the last point, it's maybe even the hard conversations, knowing in your mind, at this point, this person usually blows up or walks away, or this is what happens. Know what you're going to do when that happens. So, that would be probably the biggest things I'd say. Just set yourself up, anticipate where you fall short, where your weakness kind of comes in, and premeditate on that so that you can do the little things that will help you. So you can support yourself when you come up against that resistance or the weakness. Okay, so key point number 5. What do you think it's going to be? I want you to assess where this resistance is even coming from. There's so many places. It doesn't actually have to be just one. It can be a conglomerate of places that this resistance comes from. It might be fear, just fear of the unknown. It's different, so you don't know. It could be overthinking, spiraling out. It could be related to your self-worth, basically. Like, do you even think you're worthy of this change that you're bringing upon yourself? Do you judge yourself too harshly for it? Maybe you know that you're tolerating something that you shouldn't be, but you're afraid of something about moving through that, to stopping it, to speaking up. It could be that someone in your past labeled this new way of being a certain way, put it down, made fun of it, and that stops you because you either respect that person or maybe you don't, but you just kind of have that narrative in your head of that same label. And you're like, I don't really want to be that label. I don't want to be put down or thought of in this way or made fun of. And so you shy away from it. It could just be that it's totally unfamiliar. There may be a belief you have personally regarding the topic. Like, dive into it. Like, what do I really believe about this change, or someone who embodies this change that I really know I want to, but somehow I keep stopping myself? Maybe you have some judgment that you need to deal with. There are so many things that go into the psychology behind why we do this. It's very worth your time to think about what's hanging you up. Because if you can deal with those little root things and kind of address those and let them go, you're going to have a lot less resistance. Still some, because it's change, right? We don't get away from that. But you're going to have a whole hell of a lot less resistance. So dive into that. And now, because I really want to help you, I really want this video to be as helpful as possible. I'm going to give you a bonus, a little PB&J bonus, if you will, of a helpful hint, helpful tip. And PB&J, I say because it's a delicious little combo of two ingredients. The first ingredient, we'll call it the peanut butter, is to know your why. Like, why do you want this change? What does it mean to you? What does it mean for you? What else would change because of this change? Why is it even something that keeps tugging at your shirt tail? Because I imagine there's changes out there that you've tried, failed, maybe tried again, still failed, but yet it's still out there tugging at you. Hey, we want this. We want this. Or maybe it's something brand new. I don't know. But think about why. What is the driving force behind that? What does it mean to you? What's it going to do for you? If you can cling to that, it's going to help you move through those uncomfortable moments of resistance. And then slap on the jelly for the second ingredient is to know what the pain of not doing that is costing you. Like, what is the cost of not moving through this resistance? Is it maybe high blood pressure or headaches? Because you're not choosing to de-stress and self-regulate your nervous system? What else is happening because you're choosing not to move through this? What is the cost of it? Are you tolerating something you shouldn't be because you don't want to speak up because there's going to be an uncomfortable moment? What is the cost? So if you know your why, smush that up with the cost of what it is, the pain that you're going through for not just going through a moment of uncomfortable times to change, then you can really find some footwork, some place to dig your heels in when it comes to that moment of resistance. Remember those things for yourself, okay? Super, super important. So if you haven't already joined me in my Stress Loop Rewire community on Facebook, please do. Every day, Monday through Friday, I'm sprinkling in wonderful things. I'd like to take some time off during the weekend because that's my digital detox time. So other than making these videos. So we sprinkle in just inspiration, polls, different ways to hold yourself accountable, to self-inquire. Huge on the self-inquiry. It's best to know yourself, your roadblocks, and even celebrate your wins. We do that every Friday. We set intentions every Monday. Get into the group if you're not already a part of it. Find me on Facebook land, Jennifer Sack. I want you to also take advantage. I have a Rewiring for Calm workshop coming up. Nice long workshop full of great information, includes a workbook and everything for you, and also a really cool 7-day energy reset journey where I help hold you accountable 7 days in a row to get you back on track. These are not eureka moments. If you are in the wellness field, I'm telling you, these are things you've learned, you've probably taught, you're well versed in. So I never say this like, oh, wow, I never knew that. Like, no, I know you know it. Have you gotten off track? Are you practicing these things? Are these at the forefront of your mind? Do you have sustained balance? That's an easy way to answer whether or not you are taking your own medicine. And if not, I'm telling you, no judgment, because we all are subject to the daily stressors. But that's why we have to bring it into our daily practice of taking care of ourselves, of self-awareness, and creating this sort of routine of continual balance and sustained effort in an area so that we can stay well. And that's what that 7-day energy reset, I'm going to get you back on track. It's a great journey just to hold you accountable and start kind of reworking the framework of that. If you want to be one of the first to get those when they drop, hit me up in the DMs. Otherwise, I want you to stick with me now because I'm going to give you that meditation that I promised you. So I'm going to say right now, comfort is queen, as always. I need you to get comfortable. So if you need to adjust your position in any way to really be able to take in this meditation, because you will need to relax in order to do so. And I want you to think about one of those instances earlier in the video. I said, can you think of anything that has happened where you have continually biffed it, maybe on a goal, or maybe you have a new goal that you're setting and you're like, I really want to be able to move through this successfully. I want you to bring just one, either an old one you want to resurface or a new goal to mind that you want to set the intention for moving through that finish line and really being able to celebrate that big win. Bring it to the forefront of your mind now, and then close your eyes. And with your eyes closed, I want you to relax all the muscles around your eyes. And you're going to even relax the temples, just breathing in and out through your nose. And just drip that sensation of relaxation from the temples down into your jaw, maybe even separating the teeth, allowing the tongue to rest on the bottom palate. And then slow the breath down just a bit. Drop your shoulders, arms heavy, hands and fingertips relaxed. And then I want you to move your awareness down to your bottom ribs. And I want you to pay attention to the sensation of your ribs expanding as you inhale and contracting as you exhale. Notice all four sides of the ribs expanding as you breathe in, eyes still closed, contracting as you exhale. And do that for a few breaths. Slow exhales, emptying all of the air out. Let the belly be soft. And then I want you to move your awareness up into your heart space. And if it's helpful for you, you may place one hand on the heart and one hand on the belly. And with eyes closed, shoulders relaxed, breath smooth. See if you can pick up on any sensation in the heart space. And if not, that is okay too. And now, as you hear these words, in order to just allow yourself to complete the sentence with that goal in mind, I want you to get real firm and finite on this goal. In order to just listen to your response. And as you hear it, just silently repeat it back to yourself. What is that goal? In order to. And next, as you hear these words, I must. Allow yourself to silently complete the sentence. I must. What must you do? Do you need to stop something? Do you need to start something? Just listen to your response. And as you hear it, silently repeat it back to yourself. I must. And then let's bring both of those halves together. In order to I must. And as you hear your internal response to these words, just notice what becomes more clear. Just listen from within your heart. If there's any other message there for you. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, release your hands if you had them held at your heart and belly. Keeping your eyes closed for another breath or two. Allowing the inhale to be a little more full, just so you can wake back up. Coming back to the level of energy that you will need for the next task you move into. And when you feel ready, slowly open your eyes. All right, I do encourage you, as I always do after meditation, to grab your journal, pen and paper, or simply voice note into your phone anything that came up for you, because our world is full of distractions. And no matter how much of an aha moment I think I've had, I'll remember that forever. I don't. And I guarantee it'll probably happen to you too. So if you have a way of capturing whatever may have come up for you, please do. It'll benefit you later. All right, my friends. Again, let me know if you want any of those resources I spoke about. Also, please do join the Stress Loop community, Rewire community in my Facebook group. And beyond that, I just thank you so much for being here, sharing this time with me. And I just want you to keep being awesome out there. All right, my friends, until next time, go crush those goals. Just move through the resistance, hop into the dang frying pan, and I will see you on the other side.